Hello everyone and welcome back to Football Manager 2019 and the beta version of the game. We are doing another Wonderkids video today, but this time we're doing it a little bit better than before because there are no restrictions on what I can show you. We've even got the logos in the game. It's completely different. And we're also going to look in a lot more depth at every position. So what we're going to do is look at each area one at a time. So we'll start with goalkeeper, right back, going all the way up to striker. And we're just going to pick the best players here. So you'll be able to see there'll be players on here you won't be able to sign, like on the screen at the moment, Gianluigi Donnarumma. We'll probably not be able to sign him. If he's still at Milan in the game and he hasn't been picked up by PSG or Real Madrid, he's probably not for sale. He's on 350 grand a week, but people will put him on their Wonderkids list. That's not what I'm going to do. We're going to have a look at players like Ramiro Macagno, an Argentinian goalkeeper who I've never heard of before, which may be a bad reflection on me, but you can see he signed on a free in 1920 season. That is a fantastic deal and the first one that we've looked at. And for a goalkeeper, not too bad. This season he had a 7.21 rating. So he is definitely someone worth looking at and picking up. So you will have to make a note of these as you go. I'm not necessarily going to create a short list of these players. You just have to go out there and pick them up. But it will allow you to accommodate for your own tastes. Now, before we get into it, do smash that like button. The last Wonderkids video was really well received. Make sure to subscribe as well. There's going to be tactics videos coming, series coming, and experiments will be back when the full game is released and we get the in-game editor. So subscribe for that. There's going to be loads more content on the way. And if you've got ideas, that's where I get most of mine from. Put them in the comments. If you've got a great idea for a video, I will go out there and do it. So put it down below, and other people should drop likes on good suggestions too. But let's take a look at some of these keepers. This is where we're going to start. So we've already looked at Macagno. Alex Murray, classic wonderkid of the last few years. He's currently at Napoli in the game, so he's going to be a difficult one to pick up. He was on loan at Napoli from Udinese, actually, in the first season, so unless there's a buy deal at the end of that loan, you could well go out and pick up Alex Murray. But he is one that everybody's familiar with. Alban Lafont will probably be familiar to a lot of FIFA players out there. Unfortunately, I've got the attributes masked, but you'll get a feel for how good these players are anyway. 7.75 million, again, signed in the first season, probably an existing transfer. But still, he looks like he might be able to pick up Fiorentina, not the biggest team in the world. Macagno, we already looked at already. He looks like a really decent keeper and an absolute steal. The fact you can get him on a free so early is huge. And then we've got Emil Aduro as well, or Adero. He plays for Lazio at the moment. Decent stats, not all showing up. But when we look at his career stats here, you can see signed for Lazio for 14.5 million from Juventus, which is a problem because they aren't going to let him go at the start of the game. Now, one of the players I picked out was Titus Krapikas. The goalkeepers seem pretty weak, as far as I can tell, in the game for future prospects, but Krapikas I picked out because he looks fantastic and he was signed for just 4.7 million from Sampdoria. I'm pretty sure you can get him cheaper than that, but he looked like a really, really good signing. Juanet Radu, a nice Romanian player here. He signed for Genoa for £8 million. Again, another steal who looks like he's probably top quality. You can pause the screen if you want to get a better idea of their attributes, but because they're masked, I'm going to leave that as it is. Florian Muller, 14.5 million valuation, playing for Mainz. Another player you could probably pick up quite cheaply. Joined them on a free in 13-14. Doesn't play for a little while. Well, actually, no, he does in their first season, 30 games, and then doesn't play afterwards. But certainly one worth having a look at. And then if you're after an English keeper, there is Dean Henderson, who has been picked up. He was at United, though, only just signed for Bournemouth for 2.5 million. That could be a difficult one to pry away from United if he's a decent English prospect. But this guy here, Croatian Carlo Letica, signed for Club Brugge. So here is a player you could definitely pick up if you're a bigger European team. Dortmund got him for 16.25 million. His stats at Bruges were really good, not so good at Dortmund, and not playing very much at the moment, but certainly someone that you can take a look at. I'll just scroll down in case you've got an even smaller budget here. I won't click on all of these players, but there's a few here. Lucas Zidane playing for Spurs. I wonder if he is Zidane's son. But you can see him there, 2.1 million signed for Spurs. But these players will be of more questionable value, and because we can't have a look at their current and potential ability without the in-game editor, it's a difficult one to judge. So you're better going for the higher value players. The ones that I've shown you above kind of 15 million for the keepers, I would say is good, because you can see there's only 5 of them above 20 million, and this is going up to the age of 26. The reason I've got this age range on, by the way, is because a 21-year-old would have been 16 when this save started, and that's really the youngest. So this filters out almost all of the regens, but keeps in the players that would be top quality within 5 years' time. 26 is at the old range, but for goalkeepers, I think that works. Now, if we have a look at the right-backs, we'll speed this up a little bit. We've got Achraf Hakimi, who plays for Real Madrid. He starts at Real Madrid. He will be a difficult one to pry away, but if you could get him on loan, you might be able to get a future deal in there. Diego Dallo, we already know, signed for United in this summer transfer window, so he's unlikely to be available given he seems like a first-team player. Won't look at Trent Alexander-Arnold. Again, you're not going to get him. You won't get Joe Gomez either because he plays for Liverpool at the start of the game. Nico Elvedi, though, he plays for Borussia Mönchengladbach. Signs for Dortmund for 23 million. Bit steep, given that his rating hasn't pushed above 7, but possibly one to take a look at. He's gone up to 47 million. You'd at least turn a profit on him. You've got Mukiele, who plays for Monaco. He actually is at Leipzig at the start of the game. Again, will be a difficult one to pry away, but they got him for 20 million, and he had played regularly for Leipzig up to that point, so not impossible. Davide Calabria, worth nearly 40 million as a right back, signed for 55 million from Milan. Going to be a difficult one again. And then Benjamin Hendrix, who I think plays for Leverkusen. He does indeed, but signed for 18 million. That may be a pre-existing transfer is the issue. And Pablo Maffio, 33 million valuation. What team is he currently at here? Man City, I imagine. £8 million signing for Stuttgart, 18 million pickup despite playing every single season. So he is definitely one that you can take a little look at if you've got a little bit of money in the bank. Now I saw there was Felix Posilac, who is another familiar face, plays at Dortmund. Probably a difficult one to pry away. 16 million Newcastle got him for. Milenkovic again. Here plays as a centre-back actually. He was signed for 4.5, but before the game kicks off, difficult to pry away from Fiorentina. Now here are two that I am actually quite happy with. You've got Joshua Vagnoma, who plays for Hamburg. He hasn't left Hamburg, but I think you could probably pick him up. They've got a few decent Wonderkids this year, and I think you could probably tap him up and pull him away. He's worth 28 million at this point in the game, but he seems pretty solid. The other one is Musa Lagaye, who I picked out because he plays for Barcelona but doesn't play for Barcelona. So you could probably pick him up. Brighton got him for 10.75 million. I think you could get him cheaper if you get him 1 or 2 years after the game kicks off. Now, just looking down some of these other players down here, there's a few English names popping up. I want to have a look at Todorovic, who seems decent. He is Bosnian, and he starts out at Salzburg. You can definitely pick him up on the cheap, but he hasn't got the best average rating. And again, because we're down under 20 million valuation now, that is a really distorted figure. It's only when it's a bit higher than that, the 40 plus, 35 plus, I would say, valuation, that you know they're going to be good players, or at least retain a lot of that resale value. And quite often we have the case where you sign a Wonderkid and they're not actually as good as you think they are, but the way that the game values them means that you will always turn a profit on them, and that's kind of what we're also looking at here. Not all of these players will be world beaters sitting in your team doing really well, but obviously if you do have them in your team, they will develop a lot quicker and a lot better. So it is worth having them in. You can train them up, and if they're not that good, you will at least turn a huge transfer profit, which will help improve your budget to go out and just sign a world-class player. So that is the idea here. Until I get access to the current and potential ability, which I did have for my last video, so those ones are proved. These ones are a little bit more subjective because they will fluctuate a lot depending on how they're trained. So you do have to bear that in mind, which is also why it's worth picking them up in the first 2 seasons. Anyway, on to the centre-backs. We've got Matthias de Ligt, who I've shown before. He is definitely one to pick up. Chelsea got him for 45.5, a bit more than in the previous video that I did, but still 99 million sale to PSG. Definitely get him. If you've got the budget, pick him up. He's a cracking centre-back, but also you'll get a huge transfer profit out of him. Next up is Frankie De Young, who can play literally anywhere, certainly down the middle of the pitch. £31.5 million signing from Ajax, now 94 million there. Ajax littered with quality talent once again across the young ages. Definitely a club to raid if you've got the budget. And if you picked up Delete and Frankie De Young from Ajax at the start of the game, it probably set you back about 70 million, but you'd pull in 200 million pounds. That's 130 million transfer profit in 5 years on 2 players. Joe Gomez, we've already looked at. Luis Felipe, though, Brazilian centre-back, plays at Lazio at the start of the game. He does play at Lazio at the start of the game. Atletico Madrid got for 30 million, but you can see that consistent above 7 rating, which if the computer is getting that out of their players, you know they're good players. Next up, Marco Varnia. He plays for Atlanta, another one that you can actually plays for Cittadella. Definitely get him. 4.5 million signing, goes for 38 million. Around that 7 rating. Bearing in mind he's played for Atalanta, not that bad at all. Definitely one you could pick up. Alessandro Bastoni is one I picked out before. He is at Inter Milan. That's the issue. He's worth quite a lot of money and will be difficult to pull away. Nico Elvedi playing for Arsenal. Was playing for Borussia Mönchengladbach. Dortmund got him for 23 million. Decent player, worth having a look at. If you can tap him up and pull him away, if he's not playing that much, you can definitely get him. But I imagine playing for Borussia Mönchengladbach, he will be in their first team quite a lot. Ruben Diaz, another familiar name here, plays for Benfica, £36 million signing. Benfica are a difficult club to negotiate with in the game. They do always turn a big profit on their players, which makes them quite difficult to pull out. Next, Jorge Mere, plays for Watford actually, so he might be quite a difficult one to pull away, but Dortmund got him for just 16 million. Rating's not the best, but he's not playing that consistently, so who knows? I mean, he was actually at Colton, so he must have moved in the January transfer window there for about 20 million, so maybe one worth having a look at. Mukiele, we've already looked at, plays at right back as well. Christopher Ayer, people should be familiar with him. Previous Wonderkid, picked up from Celtic for under 20 million, good average rating, worth a little sniff. Pongracic, the next one, plays for Arsenal at the moment, picked up from Salzburg, another cheap signing here, under 20 million, another one worth taking a look at. So the centre-backs don't seem too bad this year, and we're still not dropped below 30 million. The only other one that I really want to take a look at here was Retsos, who plays for Bayer Leverkusen at the moment, but did play for Olympiacos. I think he can be got quite cheaply. I think I put in a transfer bid for him in another save that I've been playing. So worth having a look at. Malang Sarr as well, another one that I have scouted in a previous game. Plays for Nice, 18.5 million signing. He's worth it. Under 20 million, he will be worth a lot more. 31.5 here. I think he's got even more room to develop. So those are your centre-backs. Left backs, we're going to have to speed this up. This video is going to go on for ages. Kieran Tierney, we already know about. We won't spend too much time on him. Arana, though, looks interesting. Not a name I recognise. Actually plays for Sevilla, 9.75, signed for 38 million. Now gone for 57 million to PSG. Worth a look. Theo Hernandez, we already know, plays for Atletico Madrid. Hendrix plays for Bayer Leverkusen, will be a difficult one to pull away because he plays anywhere on the pitch. He plays for Monaco now, actually. He must have signed for them. Reidevold, again, former Wonderkid. We all know about Reidevold. Currently plays for Palace, but picked up by Lille for just 8 million. Went to Monaco for 15. Definitely worth a look if he's going so cheaply at such a young age. Wagnerman, we've already looked at. Ryan Sessegnon, we already know about. Championship Young Player of the Year last season. £25 million transfer for Arsenal, though. That is a deal for an English left back of this quality. Worth having a look because he can play anywhere up the flank as well in perfect positions. The next Gareth Bale in Football Manager, I would say. We've got Aiton Lucas as well and Aaron Martin, who plays for Mainz. You can see £5.5 million signing, possibly a pre-existing deal. Worth a look. Not that great average rating, so Aiton Lucas for Dortmund, worth 25 million now, picked up from Benfica on the cheap. Worth a look. Cracking 7.5-ish rating there for Benfica. I would say that is worth a look, to be honest. He seems pretty good. We do have Jamal Lewis, who is Northern Irish. Now, he's on loan from Spurs, but is at Celtic. Oh no, he's at Norwich and then signs with Celtic for 8.5 million. Worth a little look, I would say, given that he's Northern Irish, would count as a homegrown player if you're in the Premier League, and it seems like he's grown to be quite decent in value. 21.5 million down there and can play anywhere up the left flank. So what I love about Football Manager this year is there are a lot more players playing in a lot of different positions. It's not as restricted as it used to be. But we get onto the defensive midfielders next. Might be worth somebody time-stamping all of the different positions in the comments below if they've got the time. Now, Rodrigo, Benson, Kerr plays for Juventus in real life. Going to be a difficult one to pull away. Costs 69 million for Real Madrid. Frankie D Young, we've already looked at because he can play at centre-back. Frank Kessie is an interesting one. He plays for Milan, £18 million final transfer there to Milan. Now at Liverpool, 86 million signing. Big transfer fees knocking about. Van der Beek, another former Wonderkid, currently at Barcelona, or signs for Barcelona for 16.5 million actually, and then goes to Bayern for 20. Worth a look. He's an existing Wonderkid. We already know he's good. He could really go on and develop. Florentino Luis next is another one from Benfica. Cost 52 million though, which is a big ask. Santiago Ascacaba. Let's go for that. He cost 7 million for Stuttgart, pre-existing deal there, and 7-point rating. So worth a look. If he's still at Stuttgart, you can definitely pick him up. Valverde, we already know about. Locatelli, defensive midfielder, at Milan the whole time. You're going to struggle to get him. We will have a look at Valverde, who's at Real Madrid at the moment. Yeah, he's at Real Madrid. You're not going to be able to pick him up. Maya, who plays for Dortmund now, was at Hertha Berlin. Worth a look. 27 million signing in 22-23. 7-point ratings across the board. Definitely a good young player you can take a look at. I mean, look at all these above 40 million. We'll stay above 40 million. But you've got Ndombele, who plays for Lyon at the moment. Again, might be a difficult one to pull, but Lyon can be negotiated with. They do sell a lot of their players. Lewis Cook here, you can see probably the best Englishman in this position. Used to be brilliant in FM last year, still at Bournemouth, which makes it look like he's probably difficult to sign. Suat Serdar, currently at Mainz, 9.75 signing though. Worth a look. He might already have moved to Schalke in the game. That's the difficult thing here. You don't know if that's a summer transfer or the first window in the game. But signed by Bayern Munich for 26.5. So those are your defensive midfielders. If we go up to central midfield and have a look at the top here. Now this is one player that I did pick out, Lee Kangin. He is at Valencia. I think he's worth a look at. Valencia, struggling for cash, could be picked up on the cheap. Now worth 64 million. Plays central midfield and attacking midfield. Worth a look. Ezekiel Palacios, now at Manchester United. £12.25 million signing from River Plate. Could be picked up by almost anyone for that much money. Definitely worth a look because he's now gone up to a £64 million valuation. £63 million valuation, so definitely worth a look. Arthur is another wonder kid we knew about in previous games. He is at Barcelona, 28 million. I think you'll struggle to get him. He's on loan though, worth picking up on loan if you can. Paqueta, who is another central midfield player, signed by Newcastle for 10 million. Pick him up, £10 million. That's a cracking deal from Brazil. And then signs for 44.5 for Barcelona. Another easy profit to be made from Brazil there. Frankie De Jong we've looked at. Gedson Fernandez we know about from previous FMs, can play anywhere on the pitch, and he costs 74 million, so you're probably not going to be able to sign him. Cabelos, all of these players above 60 million, by the way. If you can get any of them cheap, you are doing well. Cabelos, he's at Real Madrid, you're not going to get him. Mandragora, let's go with that. 16.25 million he's signed from Juventus there. Worth a look. I think that's a good deal. He's at Arsenal now, worth 60 million. 57 million. Definitely worth a quick look there. Renato Sanchez we know about. I will go for on that one. Leon, never left. Could be negotiated with. You don't know though. Murgia from Lazio. We're looking for players from small clubs. I mean, he's never left Lazio. I'm sure you could tap him up and have a little bid for him. Djibril Sow, £52 million player. From Young Boys, you can get him on the cheap. 11.25 million he cost United. It's now worth 50 plus. Amadou Diawara, currently at Napoli. If you look at him, joins Napoli. He's never left. Might be difficult. Napoli, a big club this year. Javier Schlager, though, cracking name. 17.5 million. Salzburg seem to have quite a few good players this year. Worth a little look at their youth team and first team when you load up the game. He was picked up very, very cheap. And then we're getting on to some of the familiar names from before and dropping below 40 million. So we'll move on to the attacking midfielders. Starting with the right-hand side, Kylian Mbappe and Ousmane Dembele you are not going to sign. Although Dembele did join United, I'm interested to see how much for. He's moved around a lot, 99 million and then 106 million. If you're at a big club, might be worth a look. Leon Bailey, though, is not at a big club. He's at Bayern, but he must have just signed for Bayern, £90 million. He was not at Bayern before. That's the January transfer window there from Bayer Leverkusen, but 90 million is a little bit steep. Guedes, people should be aware of him. 36 million he cost Valencia shortly after the game began, or he might already be at Valencia. He is already at Valencia in real life, so that's not accurate. What I've just said, that is me being incorrect. You're probably going to struggle to get him except for the second or third season. Zivkovic, though, we already knew about as well. Worth a look, £24 million signing for PSG, 7.5 ratings at Benfica. You might be able to get him cheaper than that if you sign him quickly. Chiesa, now at Liverpool, plays on either flank, but £77 million signing is quite steep. Saigankov, who is Ukrainian, £25 million signing from Dynamo Kiev for Barcelona. If you're a smaller club, you might be able to get him a little bit cheaper than that. Pulisic, we already know about Dortmund. You're going to struggle to get him. This is an interesting player, though. Chong, who is on United's books. You might be able to tap him up and pull him away. United have got quite a lot of good young players. Justin Kluivert, we know about. He cost Spurs about 50 million. Brun Larsen plays on either flank at Dortmund the entire game. You'll struggle to get him. And Samuel Kalou, who plays on the right-hand side, 7.5 million he cost Bordeaux. I reckon you can pick him up quite cheap. Atletico got him for 15 million. Worth a little look. And all of these players are over 40 million pounds. So definitely worth the investment if you can get them under that. They will get a much higher value. Now, if we look at the left-hand side, there won't be too many changes here. We've got Rodrigo, who is my absolute must-buy. Every time I go into the future, he is worth a fortune. If you've got 40 million free, put in a bid for him. Sign him from Brazil. He is worth the money. He always becomes the most valuable player in the game. Definitely worth a look. Currently worth 79 million at PSG. Absolutely brilliant signing if you can get him. We've already looked at a lot of these players because most of these can play on either side these days. Okafor, who's playing for Atletico Madrid, worth a look though. 13.5 million signing from Basel. You can definitely get him. That is well worth the money. He gets a good average rating and he retains a lot of value in the future. Looking further down the list, we've already seen most of these names. We have got an Israeli here, Solomon, who is a £34 million signing. Joins Sevilla, though, for £7.25 million from Maccabi Petach Tikva. You can definitely pick him up. £7.25 million, goes on for 34 just a couple of years later. Worth picking up there. We've got Shaviro Dilrosun, who is at Atlanta. At Hertha Berlin at the start of the game, joins Huddersfield for 23 million. Worth a little look. We've also got Ben Woodburn, who we know about, Malcolm, who we know about, Galeno, who is at Real Betis. He is a £20 million signing from Porto, but he's actually at Rio Ave before that. Oh, he's on loan there, so he is a Porto player, but £20 million, you can pick him up. He's worth a lot more now. Definitely get your foot in the door there. We can see Marcus Rashford not doing that well this season. He's at Spurs is only worth 38 million. That's interesting. But that will do it for these ones. And then if we go to finally the strikers, you can see Mbappe at the top, Rodrigo. I've noticed that almost all of the good strikers this year also play on the left flank. I don't know if there's a bias in the game where the left flank is overpowered or if it's just the way that things have turned out. But you'll see, not that many of them can also play on the right. Most of them can play on the left, though. So maybe put your money into a left winger because it seems like they develop very, very well. We've already looked at Mbappe and Rodrigo. There is Pellagra here who plays up front for Monaco. You're going to struggle to pull him away from Monaco. He's going to be worth a lot of money. Lautaro Martinez is worth a look. Picked up by Inter for 22.5 million. Great average rating, £76 million. He went on to Man City at the end of the game. Gabriel Jesus, Dembele would, Patrick Cutrone did wonders for me last year with Newcastle, has never left Milan though, so it's hard to see how much you would go for. Baudu, again, good player here. 22.5 million he cost PSG. You can pick him up from AZ Alkmaar though. Worth a look. You might be able to get him even cheaper if you're not one of the big teams. And I think he becomes a very good player at 58 million. Okafor we've looked at. Casper Dolberg. Most people should already be familiar with. Plays for Denmark. 24.5 million signing from Ajax. Ajax, if you start with Ajax and sell these players on, you'll have an absolute fortune in your bank account to use. Eggestein, a familiar face, he used to always sign for Real Madrid. This time he's signed for Borussia Dortmund for 57 million. Worth a look if you're a big budget team, he always does well. Pinamonte, brilliant for me last season at Inter. 48.5 million signing for Chelsea, it's quite a difficult one. Paulinho though, currently at Bayer Leverkusen, might be worth a look. Plays on the left wing, 16.5 million signing. Worth a look if you can get him. We've looked at him. Brenner, Brazilian, might be on the cheap if he's Brazilian. £45 million striker. 10.5 million signing 4 years into the game. Go and get Brenner. That is sensational. And he has a great goal return there as well. Excellent average ratings. Pick him up. That is so cheap. Luka Jovic, we've already looked at as well. £33 million he gets signed for there. A little bit steep, I would say. Brignola, currently at Milan. I think we might have already looked at him. No, we haven't. 3.6 million he signs for Sassuolo at under 20 million to Milan. Definitely worth a look. And then we're dropping below 40 million, which for a striker is not great value. So those are your Wonderkids for FM19. Sorry for the way that was a bit slapdash. I tried to sort of make a note of them and then go into a bit more detail, but I thought actually what you really want is to see the names on the screen. You can pause the screen at any point, make a note of them, go and look them up, see if you can get them, and then come back and try and sign a different one. I think no matter what budget you've got there, unless you're a non-league team or a championship team, even if you are a championship team, there will be players there you can sign. My other Wonderkids video, the players are a bit cheaper from the start. There's a couple there you can pick up for under £1 million. Go and have a look at that video if you're on a much tighter budget. But there are definitely players here you can sign, certainly in your second season. If you do the 48 months trick and extend your budget, that will definitely work for you. So drop a like on the video if you've enjoyed that Wonderkid shortlist. Make sure to subscribe for more quality Football Manager content. And until next time, see ya.